Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, June 10th in the United States and Canada, and this is a show called What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code WhatChaos. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is David Bean. I sit beside Pete Blackburn, and across the room is the Catman himself, Sean DePaz. Hi, Pete.
Hey, David. How are you after last night's game?
I'm whatever after last night's game. I'm not the end of the world, but we'll talk about it. I've got thoughts.
How you doing, Puss Man, Sean DePaz?
Yeah, the cat boy.
Yeah.
Two different ways.
This guy loves cats.
What do you got to say for yourself?
Go Cats. Go Rats.
How you feel about that one, Sean?
About as good as you can feel if you're rooting for the Cats.
I was going to say, do you feel confident?
Feel better than I did after game 2, I guess.
Yes.
But I don't feel like I think the Panthers are going to win the series. Like I did before the series started.
It's not a bad take.
So that's how I feel. I don't feel confident that they're going to win, but if you're asking me which one I think is going to win, it's the Panthers.
I just got some film developed from our Edmonton trip, and lots of pictures of Sean DePaz in an Oilers jersey.
Exposed.
Ooh.
I mean, I feel
Got
like I've never said I don't like the Edmonton Oilers. And if they were playing another team, I'd probably be rooting for the Edmonton Oilers. But
Nobody cares about context when the pick's at the internet, Sean.
That's
all
true.
I'm saying.
Ask Anthony Weiner.
Okay. Pete, tell the folks on the show today.
Today on the show, we are going to discuss the Game 3 fallout because there should be plenty of fallout. Last night was a disaster for the Oilers. Pretty unmitigated, I would say. So we're going to have plenty to feast on from that game. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers, the Stanley Cup champion. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, not really. They are the Stanley Cup champions.
Yes.
Raining.
No, congratulations. Yeah, we should do that after every game.
Yeah.
After every game, they win. Congratulations to the Stanley Cup champion.
After every game. Like, damn,
That's true. Win or loss, they're still
Tough
Stanley
loss.
Cup champions.
Congratulations to the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers.
We are going to be crying over spilled ketchup, perhaps. Was that? I saw the picture of the rat on the ice that looked like it was massacred and full of blood.
So there was like a minute and a half, and if you did it, I apologize, where a reactionary, some might say stupid segment of the internet said that a real rat was thrown onto the ice.
Oh no!
Someone threw a bottle of ketchup on the ice.
It was a rat strapped to a bottle of ketchup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hold on.
That's incredible.
I'll get the picture.
So that makes sense as to why this picture exists, and it looks so brutal. I did not think that it was a real rat at any point.
Only because of the color of it. Like that's the only reason why I was like, are people stupid? Like it was just so brilliantly ketchup red.
It's almost like paint red.
I wondered. I thought that too. I was like, that might be too red for ketchup.
I mean, the streak is this live? No. No.
It is now.
Okay, it is now. The ketchup streak is just so brutal there. That's an unbelievable photo. If only the scoreline was reversed, it would be so emblematic of Game 3.
Yeah.
But instead, nope. All right, today on the show, we also have... Bring it back up. Today on the show, we'll also just talk to Jackie Redmond. Jackie Redmond is today's special guest, and we love her. Can't wait to get her thoughts on last night in the series as a whole.
Just dicking around with Paul Maurice on the not her fault, the disrespect. I love it that Paul Maurice is like hanging out during the game.
Well, I was going to say, like, if the scoreline was reversed, I'd have a real problem with Paul Maurice holding court behind the bench in between whistles. But he didn't have to work very hard last night, let's be honest. And finally, Jason Robertson for Holmes. Excuse me? We have the Jason Robertson trade rumors have hit a high point in my mind. Can't wait to discuss this.
High as in, and this is low-hanging fruit, but like high as in
What are you smoking?
on drugs.
Yeah.
The reason now we are finding out why Dallas might want to unload Jason Robertson will shock you. But let's begin with game 3. Absolutely crazy game. And I started to listen to 32 Thoughts this morning, and I had to pause it and turn it off and say, no. I had the same fucking idea, Elliot, and you're going to do it better than me and smarter than me and certainly more deliberate than me. So I don't want to do the same exact show. Elliot Friedman probably did a show where he had a lot more information from you, but we had similar thoughts. So I will.
32?
Yes, I had 32 thoughts on this game, and I have a lot less hair as a result of it. But quick reads on this from you guys. You did unmitigated disaster. We do. I agree with that.
Yes, I said it last night, but it was by far, unequivocally, the Oilers' worst game of the playoffs.
Correct.
And they should be fucking embarrassed by the way that all went down from the start to the finish. All of it extremely embarrassing for the Oilers. But I'm doing the no takeaways thing. Like it doesn't have a ton of carryover for me because the Oilers have proven time and time again they are very capable of flushing horrible games and learning from them and being better off from them as a result. Am I confident that they're going to be coming out on the other side of this better for it? I'm not totally sure, but I'm not willing to write it off either.
Yes, apologies to the Florida Panthers that we are doing the no takeaways thing, but that's been our plan this whole series. And great game, Florida Panthers, but if ever there were a time that it is most important to hold to the no takeaways rule, it is now, after there is a 6-1 shit kicking. Sean?
I don't even, rule or no rule, it is I'm not forcing myself to not have a takeaway. That's just my honest reaction to what I've said. I think the absolute worst thing that could have happened to the Edmonton Oilers last night happened. That means nothing for me as far as how game 4 is going to go.
Okay, I have broken this game down into, as I am putting weight, as my tailor says, I've broken it into protein, carbs, and sweets, okay? And what made me turn off 32 Thoughts is he didn't use the same terminology, but Elliot off the top said, what a lot of people are going to want to focus on is what I am calling, DJ, I am calling the sweets. And he's like, that's not really what, if you're the Oilers, you should be worried about. So I'm going to break it down. The sweets, I'll say.
We're starting with sweets?
Do you want to go start sweets? Carbs are, we want to do protein?
I don't know. This is your meal, man.
Okay.
But if we're starting with sweets, that's
protein
crazy.
of this is the Oilers took 4 bad first period penalties after giving up a fire drill goal 56 seconds into the game. They took 3 offensive zone penalties and a too many men penalty. That's all in the first period. After, as I said, fire drill goal, Stu Skinner goes to get a soda in the stands. I forget who he was following. Is it Lindell?
Lindell, yeah.
Yeah. He was like, where's that guy going?
It was a bad pinch.
I'm going with a bad pinch, as Pete said on the stream. That's a protein for me. That is a, what happened? Why did you lose that game? That's a start. You have a comment?
I have a comment, and it was another reference to last night's stream, which if you're not watching our watch-along streams, come join us on YouTube every game day. But my favorite part of last night was 5 minutes into the game. We were like, hey, the Oilers haven't committed an offensive zone penalty yet. And they committed 3 offensive zone penalties in the first period after that comment was made. That is stunning.
Sam Reinhart, a goal, an assist, 4 shots on goal, 3 blocked shots. Welcome to the series, Sam Reinhart. That, folks, is protein.
Juicy protein.
That is protein. The Oilers' power play is 1 for 6, which is 16.7% in each of the last 2 games. That is protein. The Oilers scored 1 goal in the game. That is protein. And Sergei Bobrovsky has a .937 save percentage over the last 2 games. Folks, that might give you gout.
Can I ask why it's 2 games and not 3 games?
Because he wasn't as good. in game 1?
He's
been the better goalie in the last 2 games.
I agree. I agree that he wasn't as good.
And he's having a good series.
I agree that he wasn't as good in game 1 to the eye test, but the numbers were the exact same.
Really?
Yeah, he saved 42 out of 46 shots from both games.
Let's okay, I'll take your word for it. But 937 save percentage over the last 2 games, and definitely I'm saying a 925 at least for the series. If I don't know, Sean, if you want to effort it. The Carbs. Edmonton gave Florida 11 power plays. That's a real thing. You got to not give a team 11 power plays. Is that happening all the time?
Definitely not.
No.
But you allowed Florida to score 3 power play goals
Yes.
in that game. And previously, heading into last night's game, they had won the entirety of the playoffs heading into last night at home.
Stuart Skinner got pulled after 5 goals and, have to note, a delay of game penalty. LOL.
That LOL is well deserved.
That's a carb, and Chris Knobloch cried about the officiating. Never rule out a coach crying about officiating in a series, because we have seen it can have an impact going forward.
For sure. And like, this is prime to be mocked. Like, your team lost 6-1. You looked horrible across the board in every facet of the game. But honestly, like, the one thing that Chris Knobloch can maybe get like a win from last night is by crying about officiating and changing maybe the way that officiating is done moving forward. Like, we've seen that happen.
Officiating last night was very terrible in favor of the Oilers it favored the Panthers when the game mattered. The Oilers played so poorly that I am grateful the officiating was bad, because they were going to lose whether the officiating was good or bad. At least now, one part of my brain gets to talk myself into, hey, what if they called Matthew Tkachuk running over Stuart Skinner? What if they called Sasha Barkov mauling I forget who before the 3rd goal? If there is any sort of change made in officiating due to Chris Knobloch crying, or due to all the stupid gooning it up, and we'll get to the sweets in just a minute, that theoretically could help Edmonton.
Theoretically.
Because if officials say, there's 2 things that are going to come after this game, which is a 2-day break and officials saying, cut the shit, we're going to start calling more stuff. If the Oilers are not stupid, both of those things favor them. So they can use those to their advantage. Will they? We shall see. The Sweets. 140 penalty minutes in the game. 1 billion penalties in the 3rd period. Jonah Gadjovich stuck his tongue out at someone. What a legend. Game of his life. Amazing. Loved everything that he did. Fought Darnell Nurse. It was too long. Everyone loved that. I got a little bored by the end. Jake Wallman squirted his water bottle. Trent Frederick broke his stick cross-checking Sam Bennett. Someone threw ketchup on the ice. And someone, who we noted on the stream, Caucasian, dumped a beer on Kasperi Kapanen. I understand that all those things, especially for a show called What Chaos, should make the headlines. Those are maybe the most fun things we saw.
Definitely.
Those are the least likely things to carry over into the next game. And that is why when a lot of people's takeaway is like, the Panthers have done this, the Oilers have done this, the Oilers are now this, the Panthers are now this. I'm like, that is the stuff that is least likely to carry over. I think the stuff that Edmonton should be more worried is going to carry over is that save percentage of Sergei Bobrovsky's, is that power play percentage of theirs, is Sam Reinhart coming alive, is Brad Marchand continuing to be an absolute dog, is Edmonton coming out and playing stupid in the first couple of minutes. Like, those are things that I could see happening again if they're not careful. Being down 1 million goals and acting like absolute losers, teams do that. Like, Panthers do that.
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair assessment, honestly. And there's plenty of things to be concerned about, but acting like this whole thing is done and over because one game got swung heavily in one direction. Like, I know the series stands at a different point this year versus last year, but the Oilers won a game 8-1 last year. And yeah, they were down in the series, but like, they won a game 8-1 and nobody like overreacting was like, oh man, they have broken the Panthers.
There was a tweet going around last night that the team that blew out the other team in wins last Stanley Cup Final lost.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tweet from me. It got like 2 likes and then one person saying cry or something. Let's get to some ads so we can get to Jackie Redmond.
Real quick, were you looking for Stu's save percentage in the series?
Yes.
No, we was looking for Bob's.
Oh, Bob. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Bob's like not. It's got to be 925, 926, 927. That's just off the top of my head. But who knows? We have. Let me see here. Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats. I imagine if you want to bring ketchup to the game and throw it on the ice, you need tickets. It's illegal to throw ketchup on the ice. It's even more illegal to break into a game. So if you want to only break one law when you throw ketchup on the ice, you need Vivid Seats, the best way to get into these games, or really anything. I saw people posting that they were at Glengarry Glen Ross the other day. You know how you get to a Broadway show? Vivid Seats. You know how you get anywhere? Vivid Seats, the best ticket place in the whole world. As I'm trying to fucking pull this up. 100% buyer guarantee. They're the only ticket marketplace that rewards you for every purchase. For a limited time, our listeners can use promo code CHAOS30 to receive $30 off their first Vivid Seats purchase of $300 or more. Just click the link in the show notes or download the Vivid Seats app and use promo code CHAOS30 for $30 off your first purchase of $300 or more. And that's not all. Vivid Seats is giving away free tickets every week. Check out the exclusive Game Center in the Vivid Seats app and play trivia about your favorite teams and artists for your chance to win when it comes to playoff hockey. Being there is all that matters, so experience it live with Vivid Seats.
I've been cutting down on my app usage during the Stanley Cup playoffs, but one of the apps that is absolutely getting used, and honestly, like kind of run into the ground at this point, is the HOF app. It is the most important tool that I have in my sports gambling tool belt because it's given me historical data, matchup grades, leg correlation tools, player performance insights, and basically it's a one-stop shop for all of my needs when it comes to formulating bets instead of just using my dumb old broken brain that constantly loses me money. So if you're constantly losing money and tired of being bad at betting, get the HOF app because it's founded by lifelong sports fan who just happen to be giant data nerds who graduated from Ivy League schools. Trust the nerds because it eventually just comes down to numbers and value, and that's what you need in terms of being a better sports bettor. Yes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So download the HOF app. You're going to get a 7-day free trial, but also 50% off your first month when you use code CHAOS at checkout. Just download the HOF app on iOS and Android and visit hofbets.com, entering code CHAOS, and you're all set. One more time, that's a 7-day free trial and 50% off your first month using code CHAOS at checkout.
Jonathan in the chat says it's easy to be frivolous with ketchup in a non-income tax state. That's just facts. Gary Bettman would melt down if he heard that. We'll talk about that later. But first, let's talk to the great Jackie Redmond of the NHL on TNT. Hello, Jackie. What are you doing outside?
Oh, just playing nonstop pickleball. Listen, this is how you guys know that I love you and I love your show. I feel and look like a drowned rat right now. I have not a stitch of makeup. The glasses are necessary. The hat is very necessary. But I'm here. I'm here to talk some hockey, some Stanley Cup Final, after kicking ass at pickleball on the courts here in Florida. It is hot. I'm like roasting like a turkey out here.
Well, I commend you for trying to, and I disagree, but I commend you for trying to make yourself look like a drowned rat, knowing that I tried to drown myself this morning after that game. So thank you very much, Jackie. Last night must have been a very unique experience for you because you are specifically qualified for that moment as an NHL reporter and a WWE reporter when the game is completely out of hand. It's absolute mess. And they're like, all right, Jackie, we need a quote. When you're going into those interviews in that mess of shit, in that moment, are you like, I have worked my whole life to get to this moment?
I mean, of course, I feel like that every time I do an interview. I'm like, why am I here? Like, this is wild. If I could go tell, 10-year-old Jackie playing road hockey that she'd be interviewing a head coach on the bench in the middle of a cup final, she'd be like, yeah, okay. But no, I think, it's so funny when games get like that. I was at the Rangers-Devils game with the 5 fights right off the draw. You remember that one in the regular season? I was at that game, and the amount of messages I got from wrestling people being like, you didn't tell me hockey was like this. And I was like, what? Every game is not like this, but when it happens, it is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. It's so good. And, I had Brad Marchand after the game, and he's so funny because when you expect him to be, totally serious, he'll like give you like amazing quotes, and then sometimes when you expect him to be like, this is the perfect game for him to comment on, he's gonna give us gold, he like plays it straight and is like, well, you know, when games get like this is just what happens. And I'm like, come on, Brad, give me something spicy. I know it's in there. I know you love that you broke the Oilers last night. Like, I know that you are just giddy inside that they could not even control themselves for basically 40 minutes of that game. But he didn't bite, unfortunately.
That man is 2 games away from winning a Stanley Cup.
And like potentially being Conn Smythe.
He is shutting it down. And then
Yes.
after, when they won the cup, and it was a million years ago, but when he won a cup with the Bruins, he kind of buttoned down as that series went on. And then as soon as they won the cup, people were like, Brad, you've won the Stanley Cup as a rookie. How does it feel? And he was like, oh, God, I hated those guys so much. Those guys were so obnoxious. They were so arrogant. God, we hated them. What was the question? So he'll let it out. It's coming.
He's very good, actually, apparently on the bench as well, at picking his spots, right? Like, he knows when the moment is right to give a hell of a quote or to say something that's going to rile people up. But I think they broke the souls of the Oilers. So he's like, we've done enough here. I don't need to give any ammo to come stronger next game. So, yeah. If they pull it in, I cannot wait. First, first is an absolute me.
Okay, breaking up a little bit, but let's see how this goes. What I did hear in that is break the souls of the Edmonton Oilers. And a lot of today's show, Jackie, is us trying to figure out, are the Oilers actually broken? Or given what happens with both of these teams, when the Panthers are up in a series and when the Oilers are down in a series, should we maybe not write them off yet? And if you want to write them off, by all means.
Oh, we have tough connection issues right
Someone
now.
threw a bottle of ketchup
That's
at
right.
Jackie Redmond's phone.
Hopefully we can get her back. But I did want to ask, because last night on the stream, we were looking at the responses that we got from Tkachuk and Marchand, and we were like, man, they're quote unquote taking the high road and they're just like playing it straight. And then we were discussing, like, they're going to the locker room right now and they are not worried about a single thing that Edmonton tried to do to them in the third period. They're going to the locker room right now and they are absolutely laughing at what happened on the other side.
If anything, they're doing that and they're hoping that there's more of it. Because if Edmonton comes out in game 4 and they're like, oh yeah, there's more where that came from, they'd be like, cool.
Right.
Thank you, I guess. Jackie's back. Hello, Jackie.
Hi, I hope it's better. I really hope it's better. Can you hear me?
Okay, it sounds better. We think it's better. What we picked up as the Wi-Fi was going crazy there was you used the term broke the souls of the Edmonton Oilers. Do you think that this does carry over? Because that third period had a lot of flushable stuff, but I don't know, like maybe Edmonton hits the ice again in game 4 and they're like, oh God, they're in our heads. I'm not saying that happens, but do you think that there's a possibility this does carry over?
Honestly, no. And I think that for a couple of reasons. I know it's going to sound cliche, but I do think if they had played a tight game and lost in overtime again, that would have been a little harder to recover from. I mean, this one, like that game was over before it was over, you know, and they knew it. I think the fact they get 2 days and not one is a benefit for the Edmonton Oilers. They have a second to take a breath and be like, wait a second. We know who we are. We have 2 of the best players in the world. We came back from LA down 2-0. Like we're fine. You know what I mean? It's a 2-1 series. Like we are totally fine. So I think the 2 days helps. If that game happens in game 4 and then they have the quick turnaround crazy travel before 5, I think maybe it compounds for the Oilers. But the fact that it happened in game 3 and they have 2 days to like rest, get over it, and be like, what were we doing? Why did we do that? Like, I was shocked, actually, that they came out in the third and acted the way that they acted after what happened in the first. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, whatever, boys will be boys. We're investing for later in the series. That's baloney. I don't buy that for a second. They were off. They were off their game. They were in their heads. Like, I'm not buying this oh, we're trying to like get a pass flush for the next game. That's BS. I actually don't believe that. I think that they were completely out of sorts, most of the team. That's what I think. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, we've also spent a lot of time during this series comparing it to the way that things look like last year and things that have happened last year, and I feel like that's inevitable with a rematch. But like, what feels different to you this year versus last year?
Honestly, I think both teams are different, right? Which sucks for the Oilers, because I think for the Panthers last year they hadn't won yet, obviously, and I think that had a lot to do with them sort of blowing the 3-0 series lead and Edmonton being able to come back. Like the Florida Panthers, I actually talked to Paul Maurice about this before the series started. It's like, you were the Oilers last year. You went to the final against Vegas and you lost. It made you stronger. You knew the pain of losing, of coming so close, and then you used that to motivate yourself all the way to the final the next year, and you weren't going to let it slip away. And he was like, yeah, but we gained a lot from last year as well. So as much as the Oilers gained all that experience and toughness, and I mean mental toughness, not physical toughness, through going through that and getting that close and realizing like what it's going to take, the Florida Panthers got stronger through winning it last year as well. So I think both teams are better. I don't think the Florida Panthers, if they get a 3-1 series lead, I think it's over for Edmonton, because I think Florida's just not going to allow them back in it. And I think Bobrovsky's been as good as he's needed to be for them. I think we're still due for a Bob steals a game type situation. But for the Edmonton Oilers, I really changed my perception on the Oilers when I watched them come back against the LA Kings. As atrocious as the LA Kings played the second half of that first round series, I have to give the Edmonton Oilers a lot of credit, because they didn't fold, they didn't break, right? They fought in that series, and a lot of it has to do with Connor and Leon. But I came into this series thinking that the Oilers had a really good shot, but I think Hyman is such a big loss for them. And as much as I love Corey Perry and I love that he's a factor in the series, like I love it, it's like Corey Perry needs to be a factor on your third line, not your first line. Like Brad Marchand is a factor on the third line for the Florida Panthers, not the first, So I think that that's a big, big problem for Edmonton, especially if they let Florida get a 3-1 series lead. Does that make sense? I'm rambling, but.
No. And it makes sense what you said about the LA series. Like Edmonton snapped out of that. We say on the show all the time, they're like, nobody snaps out of it and nobody responds from melting down like the Oilers do. You mentioned the Kings series. Game 3 of the Vegas series, they score on themselves, buzzer beater to lose the game. They respond by not allowing a goal the rest of the series. Game 1 against Dallas, they take a million penalties. I think the game 1 against Dallas is the closest thing to what we saw last night, where it's just like, what are you doing? Stop taking penalties. What are you doing? Like, don't hit that guy. You don't have to do that in the offense. Like all of these things. And they responded with a shutout the next game, and they allowed 1 goal each in the 2 games after that. So, I mean, something's got to give, because Florida has been putting teams away a little better this year than they were last year, but Edmonton has always snapped out of it this postseason, which is why I'm not ready to bury them. I do agree with you, though, Jackie. I'll throw the must win on game 4. I have to give the Panthers more credit and respect to say, if they are up 3-1, they're not going to blow a huge series lead for a second year in a row. They're just not going to do it.
And I already said it, but I think the schedule helps them, right? Like you can't go down 3-1. Like the travel is a nightmare. It sucks. And I know they have their own planes and whatever. It sucks. It's crappy travel. They have 1 day. It's been a hard series. I just don't think if they go down 3-1 and then they have to go home and turn right around and play again, I just don't like it. Do you guys think Knobloch starts Skinner or Pickard?
So Stu Skinner is the best game 4 goalie ever. Like, not kidding.
If there is a game that you're going to start Stu Skinner, it has to be game 4 based off of the historical data.
He's undefeated, and he has a shutout half the time. I think he's 6-0, save percentage well above like 960, multiple shutouts, 2 or 3 off the top of my head. So that's the thing. Like, you have to But that goes back to something's got to give because the Oilers always snap out of it. Florida has won 3 games in a row every series. So, like, does that happen or do the Oilers snap out of it? Stu's always good in game 4, or does he follow last game with another bad game?
But the thing is that game 3 was so bad across the board. Almost everybody in an Edmonton Oilers jersey was really bad last night that it's very hard to put it on Stu. And this is a team that has shown that they don't need a goalie pull to get kicked in the ass. And they do not need the goalie pull to send a message throughout the room. Does it help sometimes? Sure. But I think last night is the night that I would have pulled him after the intermission and have that been the message sent. I think Stu's still your guy. Game 4 with the data behind it. He's still my guy 100%.
Okay. Fair.
I
But
mean,
Knoblauch's gone to record before, and been successful. We'll see. But I think I would, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made a change.
I think that if you lose game 4, no matter what, if you lose 2-1, then you're not going to bench him. But say it's 5-3. I think you think about it going home. But even then, he's been so good to close out these series, and he was so good as that, when they were down 3-0 and 3-1, and he did not have even.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He didn't even have an okay game down the stretch of that series last Stanley Cup Final. He was really good or awesome in all those games. So that's tough. What I want to know is, what about the other Skinner? Because a lot of the depth for the Oilers, the guys that were doing Victor Arvidsson, Vasily Podkolzin, whom I love, so many players that were filling in, or not filling in, but really outperforming expectations have sucked. Trent Frederick, number 1 on my list. Do you think that Jeff Skinner comes into the lineup?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's bad to say. I'm just so tired of having this conversation. You know what? I just think that the way that this series has gone, Edmonton's depth is better. I had a whole thing after game 1 about how every single forward played over 13 minutes, and last year in the final, I think they only had 5 guys average over 13 minutes, 5 forwards average over 13 minutes, something like that. All 12 in game 1 over 13 minutes. I just think when there's constant penalties, I don't care if it's Florida or Edmonton, it's stop and start and stop and start. I just Florida. But I think that game does not benefit Edmonton whatsoever. I think it takes them out of their rhythm, actually. They want to have power plays, of course. But if the whole game, they're either on the power play or on the penalty kill, I just think it takes the flow of the game away for Edmonton. And I think they benefit when the game is moving, when the game is fast. So I don't know. I know I'm not really answering your question about Skinner. I'm kind of going off on a different tangent. But I just think that, to me, plays into why some of these depth guys are maybe not being as effective, because it's a weird game when there's no flow. You know what I'm saying? When you can't just roll your lines and it's just constant, okay, PK1, you're out. Okay, PK, you're out. It's I just think it takes away from getting into the groove on that team. If you're one of the bottom 6 guys, that also doesn't help in one of those special team areas, if that makes sense.
Okay, Jackie, you're the greatest for doing this. Florida Wi-Fi has not been cooperating, but we appreciate that you have been. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
It's always great to talk to you.
You guys are the best. Next time I will not do this from pickleball, because it is not, I don't even know if you've heard a word I said, but I love you guys. You're the best.
You're a
Bye,
gamer.
Jackie.
Appreciate you.
It's the great Jackie Redmond of TNT. Yeah, Wi-Fi was tough, but the points were salient, I think. And yeah, you can't go down 3-1. If it's 3-1, it's over. And maybe they go down 3-1 and they lose in 7. But if they go down 3-1, they lose.
I would imagine. Yeah, I was gonna say there's absolutely a must-win stamp, and there's plenty that you can be discouraged about as an Oilers fan from last night. But ultimately, the scary thing to me is that the power play got going and Reinhart was good and a real factor last night. That's the scariest thing, because through the first couple of games, I was like, man, Reinhart looks like shit. And even at the start of last night's game, when he misses that wide open chance on the doorstep, you're like, this guy is so hurt and so off his game. And then scores a goal, a good goal, and then has an awesome assist.
Okay, let's go around the NHL because this has always been a very fun part of the Cup Final days where we're getting rumors, we're getting things trickling out. I want to start with something that happened on the TNT broadcast last night. Sean, Gary Bettman says that Biz proposing addressing the state income imbalance in the next CBA is, quote, ridiculous. Could you play the clip of Bettman with Biz?
Any plans maybe in the future to implement a balance as far as the no state tax? And
no, you know, when you start,
I'm just asking.
It's a ridiculous issue. When the Florida teams weren't good, which was for about 17 years, okay, nobody said anything about it. And, you know, for those of you who played, okay, were you sitting there with the tax table? No, you wanted to go to a good organization in a place where you wanted to live, where you wanted to raise your kids and send them to school. You wanted to play in a first-class arena with a first-class training facility, with an owner, an organization, a GM, and a coach that you were comfortable with, and you wanted to have good teammates so you'd have a shot at winning. That's what motivates it. Could it be a little bit of a factor if everything else were equal? I suppose, but that's not it.
Okay. Not just Gary, but with this state income tax that's been that's being had more often than ever, I'm starting to be a truther on this. Like, I'm now on Biz's side, which is that it is a factor. It's not the biggest factor. It's always been a factor. It is a thing. If you sign a contract with a team with no state income tax, you get more money than if you sign that same contract in a state with income tax. And the pushback to that fact is becoming a little much for me. And that's the height of it, where Bettman is saying you're being ridiculous. It's not a thing, then explains it is a thing and tags it with, but that's not it. Here is a quote from NHL player and pending unrestricted free agent Brad Marchand, like 1 or 2 days ago. There are teams where that absolutely matters. It doesn't matter for every player, but when you're dealing with guys that have a choice between multiple teams, it absolutely plays a part. If you have 2 teams that are offering the same contract, you're going to pick the team with less tax. Most contending teams don't have a lot of cap space. When you look at Canadian teams, most of them have an extremely high tax rate. Then the California teams, same thing. So those teams are going to have to pay more money to get certain players. It's a fact. It's not the biggest fact. It's not why a team, well, it's not, hey, why do the Panthers have, I don't know, Jonah Gadjovich? It's because nobody else wanted him and they got him and they figured out what to do with him. Why do they have Gustav Forsling? Because nobody else wanted him and they figured out what to do with him. The Panthers have a great team because they are great team builders. The no state income tax thing is a factor.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. And like, I understand Gary's energy, which is like, it's not breaking the league. It's ridiculous that this has become such a conversation because of Florida and Tampa in this run, when beforehand we went years and years and years and this was never a problem, never really discussed. It's not really discussed all that much with other sports. Like, I get all of that. But yeah, I mean, the idea that like it doesn't play any role is just wrong. And we all know that that's wrong. And we've seen it come up and actually have an impact on Florida re-signing players. A lot of those players, they went out and they got via trade that like the state income tax did not play a role in them getting those players initially. Does it play a role in helping keep them in terms of making a convincing argument? Yeah, for sure. But you lose that convincing argument too if you're not running your organization and your team correctly. Like, is Sam Reinhart taking less money on the dollar to stay in Florida, or less money on paper in Florida, even with the tax benefits, if the Panthers are a middle-of-the-road team or bottom-of-the-barrel team? Probably not. You get those hometown discounts, those state discounts, a lot of the time when you're doing all the other things correctly.
And if we're going to, and the only reason I'm getting hot and bothered about this isn't because I don't think the Panthers are good because of this. There's just a conversation being had. One side of it is saying something that is true. The other side of it is saying something that is not true. Like Biz in that clip is not saying, what are we going to do about how the Panthers are getting all of these guys on low money deals because of this loophole? He's saying there's an imbalance. Do you want to fix it in the next CBA? And a commissioner who's close to having a new CBA is saying, don't you fucking make us have to negotiate another thing. That's what's happening there. And I want to tie it back to something that always gets said, and I'm going to be a Leafs defender here. People shit on Leafs players where they're like, they got guys there who want every penny for themselves and they don't care about building a team. If they were in a place with no state income tax, maybe those players aren't getting the absolute top dollar they can get.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like it applies beyond hockey too. Like I know that hockey is a hard cap league and it's like every dollar counts, but like these no state income taxes draw people in every walk of life.
Yes.
Because they have a no state income tax.
Yeah, I know people who move to Texas because they're like,
podcasting has gone from like all California to Austin because these people are making a ton of money and they don't want to pay California taxes. Like all of this makes sense and applies beyond hockey, but acknowledge it. Like acknowledge that it is what it is. And the immediate dismissal from Bettman was like what I laughed at last night. It was just like, will you stop? And it's like, it's a fair question. If you don't feel like it needs to be fixed, just say that. Like, don't act like it has no impact on the game or the league or just like life. Having no state income tax has an impact for a lot of people everywhere.
I'm understanding why Sean is just sitting there and I'm projecting, but like doing the like, I'm not hearing this. I'm not participating in this conversation. I'm sitting this one out. It's because we're saying something that Kevin Adams would agree with. No. Kevin Adams is hearing this and he's like, exactly. We'd be awesome if it weren't for this shit, which is not what we are saying.
I honestly didn't even think of the savors of it. I mean, it just like, I just don't feel like that's an accurate read on what Gary did there. Like, I feel like his initial response was more of a reaction to Biz being the one saying it because it's Biz and he's goofy and whatever. And then like he acknowledged at the end of it, like, yeah, it matters for some people, but it like is a fact that it's not like the salary cap's been around for 20 years and it exists in other sports. Like the Miami Dolphins haven't been worth shit my entire life. It's like the Nashville Predators haven't been worth shit for most of my life. Like it clearly is not why teams are winning Stanley Cups. So I don't care about it. Like I think this whole conversation is stupid and it's like it's having its moment. And then like, the Florida Panthers, like give it 5 years, we won't have Florida teams in the Cup most likely. And then this conversation will disappear again. I just think it's like, it's a waste of time having the conversation on either side because it clearly does not, it is not the reason teams win Stanley Cups.
Yes.
100%.
It is not the reason. It is not the factor. Is it a factor? Yes. Is it a top 3 factor? I don't think so. Is it like, where does it fall on the list? Somewhere. But saying that it does not exist is just fucking weird to me.
But he didn't say
Pete
that.
knows this
he
well
acknowledged
enough.
at the end of it that it does exist.
Yeah. When all things are equal. Like and that's kind of what Marchand says, is like if you get the same deal from two teams, one of them's in a no tax state, that is often the deciding factor. So it plays a role. It's just a lot of other things have to fall into place for it to present itself as a big reason why a person or a player would choose a specific team.
And I mean, someone in the chat makes the point.
I don't think that we would be having this discussion as much. Number one, the Florida factor and being in the Stanley Cup Final for a number of years in a row, but also like the impending need for a new CBA. Like I think that this has become a perfect storm as to why we're talking about it so much, even though we probably fucking shouldn't be.
And I mean, like, as someone in the chat, like, there's income tax is not the only thing that costs you money. Like, housing in Miami is undoubtedly more expensive than it is in Buffalo, New York. The sales tax, I don't know what it is, but there's a chance that it's higher in it's different in different places and it's not correlated to income tax. Like there's all kinds of factors that factor into how much money you take home at the end of the day. And it is not just income tax. So I just feel like it is an easy thing to like latch onto, but it is by no means the entire story as far as how much money guys take home.
For sure. And like he mentioned Toronto, like the money that you get in Toronto on outside deals
That too.
as like a superstar, like Mitch Marner's probably making a shitload of money and making up whatever difference he would have in a no tax income state. Not to mention, like a part that we've kind of ignored in this conversation is that you only get the no tax break on 41 games a year, 41 game checks. Because if you play or 40, at least 41,
you play other
because
games,
you know, if you're playing in other no one, like you get your tax based off of where you're playing a game. So like it doesn't have as big of a difference as somebody who works 365 days in Florida.
And like part of it is like the facilities and the arenas and stuff like that. You know who doesn't pay for those, or you know who does pay for those? The taxpayers. It's not like these billionaires are paying completely out of pocket for all of these facilities. And so in that sense, paying more in taxes directly leads to having better facilities. Like,
oh, that's some galaxy brain
like
shit.
And like Toronto again is going to be way more willing to invest money in hockey and stuff like that than people in Florida are.
So really, it's like if you play for the Packers, you're kind of owner of the team because anyone can own it. So if you're playing for the Leafs and you're paying super high taxes, you're kind of building your practice facility. You got a piece of that.
You're sinking money back into it.
You're reinvesting in the community.
You're a non-profit player.
Good in the community.
Yes.
Mitch Marner, good in the community. Okay, good tax conversation.
And also, it's if we're talking about taxes, it makes Canada doesn't win cups way less hard. Because then you got the excuse like, of course they don't win cups. They got all these taxes.
I got a
like
little,
no. They don't have cups because they fucking suck.
I got a little Canada doesn't win cups is out the other day. Someone was doing it for like the 100th time, and I was like, you know that like all the teams are in America, right? Like you know that's why the American teams win.
I mean,
cups.
I feel like
10% of the teams
they should have by now.
Yeah,
they should have by now. But like, it's not the crazy anomaly that you would think it would be.
The percentage does not make up for like 30 years.
Yeah,
and
they should have had like 2 or 3 by now, and they've had 0.
All things
are
not
crazy. Like, not really.
All things are not created equal either.
And also, like one of the teams is the Canucks, so like,
yeah, and like,
I mean, they arguably came the closest.
Yeah, they came the closest actually.
Like most of the players are Canadian, so like you would think in theory they'd be more likely to play on Canadian teams, and like I mean, half of the core 4 is there because it's Toronto.
Okay. Very good. Glad we did it. Bruins introduced Mako Sturm as head coach. Jay Leach, Chris Kelly, and Bob Asenza will be on the staff, and they will add someone to coach the power play, which is good because the Bruins ranked 29th in power play this season, 15.2%. Only the Flyers, Islanders, and Ducks worse. That's right. I remembered the Island Boys the other day.
That's what I was like. Is that an Island Boys reference?
Because I'm an Island boy. Yeah, I saw a video where a guy has been out of boredom paying for specific Island Boys cameos.
Oh, they're still bringing it in on Cameo?
Yeah, a guy sent to the Island Boys a cameo request and was like, hey, my daughter's a big Island Boys fan. She's 19 and just got her first yeast infection. Could you please send her a cameo to cheer her up? And like,
did they make out about it? Did they still doing
I forgot
that?
they did that.
That's so fucking weird, man.
That's the Boston Bruins update. This is what I want to get to. Dallas Stars shopping Jason Robertson. Why? On Sportsnet 590, discussing that Jason Robertson's name is out there, could be moved to make room for a Mikhail Granlund extension if Dumba or Lyubushkin can't be shipped out. If you are wondering who those people are, Jason Robertson is a 25-year-old, 2-time 40-goal scorer. He's not Finnish. Mikhail Granlund is 33 years old, had 22 goals and 66 points in 83 games this past year, but he is Finnish. If you are moving out a 25-year-old, 2-time 40-goal scorer so you could sign a player that I love, teams fucking do this to me. Like when Don Sweeney signed David Backes, that stupid contract, I was like, if you make me make fun of David Backes, Don Sweeney, I will, Lord help me, is what I'll do. if Jim Nill makes me make fun of Mikael Granlund in his contract, I'm going to be so pissed at him.
I want to believe this isn't true so badly because I have so much respect for Jim Nill and the job that he does. But if he trades Jason Robertson to make room for a Mikael Granlund extension as part of a 2-year window in which he also signed Matt Dumba and Ilya Lyubushkin, which is part of the reason why he might not have enough money for both Jason Robertson and Mikael Granlund. Holy shit, man. Like, that is unbelievable. And you're right in the sense that, like, nobody will have more pressure on them unfairly than Mikael Granlund if he stays in Dallas. And part of the reason why he's able to stay in Dallas is because Jason Robertson was traded out of town because of him. Like, the expectations for Mikael Granlund will be so unfairly high based off of the bar that sets.
Could you imagine if, like, when Edmonton re-signed Adam Henrique, it came with some, like, and you lost player X for it, and you could say the offer sheet sort of thing, but like what I'm saying is, like, Mikael Granlund is, like, more in that mold than he is in a Jason Robertson, like, star, unbelievable 40 goal scorer multiple times sort of thing. Sometimes I do this with teams because I wonder if they do it, which is, you know what? I know that this is going to be, we're going to take a loss here, but if we zoom out and we say, we gave up this, we got these guys, it's not so bad. If you go back to the beginning of this year and you pretend the picks weren't traded, you could say, all right, we gave up Logan Stankoven and Jason Robertson, and we got Mikko Rantanen and Mikael Granlund. You say, well, they got the best player out of the four that is discussed there. They definitely gave up the next best two, but if you really want Mikko Rantanen, got to pay a huge, crazy price. That's fine. They also gave up, like, a bunch of first-round picks. What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Don't do this. Do not trade Jason Robertson to make room for Mikael Granlund.
And like, we've had the discussion about a Jason Robertson trade. I'm okay with the Jason Robertson trade. And to take words out of Sean Shapiro's mouth, it depends on the return. What are you getting back? That is what justifies a Jason Robertson trade, especially if you're concerned about your ability to re-sign him beyond his current contract. I based off of all the information that is coming at us right now, which is yet to be confirmed, but I trust it. Elliot says it. I trust Elliot. I think we're in potential hostile takeover territory from the Finns right now. Huh. Like, are the Finns running the Dallas Stars organization if we're trading Jason Robertson to keep Mikael Granlund?
I think Jake Ottinger is running it, and the Finns are his shooters. He's got to keep his Finns happy because that's his goon squad.
So Otter is the Don, and yes, the Finns are the muscle.
Yes.
I'm trying to find, what is this Mikael Granlund contract even going to be? What are you signing him to that means you got to get rid of Jason Robertson? I know the money is tight. Shouldn't have signed a bunch of bad defensemen, but he's 33 years old, coming off a $5 million AAV. Are you going much higher than that?
I wouldn't think so. And, like, honestly, like, Granlund's a really good player and was really good for Dallas down the stretch. But, like, I view him as more of, like, a hired gun.
Yes, that's the guy that you get. I mean, I even think this way, kind of. It's crazy, but, like, I kind of feel this way with Marchand in Florida, where depending on what the price becomes, that just might be you miss him so fucking bad and you remember the days that you had him, but know that he's outpricing himself. Mm-hmm. We can't sign that guy, but I think that you're bang on where it's recency bias. They had a lot of guys not perform for them down the stretch, and they're like, we keep him. We bring him back. He did something for us. He's Finnish. That's that. Don't get rid of Jason Robertson so you could do that. Really, really don't do that. And William Karlsson, not as available as people might have been suggesting. Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts said that teams think he's not available, either from whispers they've heard or from trying to trade for him and being told he's not available. And that is interesting in terms of what the Knights do in free agency, because they make sense for Mitch Marner if they can move a contract. Initially, we thought it would be Stone. Then yesterday, we started to see William Karlsson. If I'm the Knights, I'm not in a hurry to move William Karlsson's contract. He's coming off a down year, but he's making $5.9 million. If he's a top 6 guy for you, that is fine money.
Yeah, I don't know at this point if William Karlsson,
Could be
I
cooked.
want him to be a top 6 guy on my team. I just think that he's probably better suited in your bottom 6 at this point. What I will say, final note on the Robertson thing is, like, again, if you get a good return for Robertson and you're able to fill some of the gaps that Dallas clearly had with their roster this year, and Jason Robertson helps you do that, and part of a bigger plan to mitigate the loss of Jason Robertson is signing Mikael Granlund to like keep some of that forward firepower, then it becomes a lot more sensical.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you can't base the reasoning of trading Jason Robertson around keeping Mikael Granlund.
Exactly. As long as, and I can't believe that Granlund is in the same sentence as we might have to trade Jason Robertson. Make it because of other things, and then say, well, at least we can, well, now with some of the money that we save, Granlund wants to come back, no state income tax, wants a hometown discount, or will give us a hometown discount or whatever, we sign him. Yeah, sure. Like, nobody remembers that right after the Bruins traded Tyler Seguin, they signed Jerome McGinley.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Bruins didn't trade Tyler Seguin to sign Jerome McGinley. They traded Tyler Seguin for a bunch of weird reasons, but like that was another thing that happened. Make those two independent occurrences. Don't make one the cause of the other, because if you are prioritizing Granlund over Jason Robertson, you have lost your way, even if you're fed up with his streakiness.
Yeah, what if the plan is to trade Robertson? Maybe you get like a couple good-ish players, some futures, and then you use that flexibility to go out and sign somebody for a lower number than Jason Robertson, and then like maybe on the aggregate, you've got Mikael Granlund and another player that you land in free agency, plus the return for Robertson. Then it starts to come into a little bit clearer of picture that like you ultimately didn't want to pay the Robertson the number that he would command down the road on an extension. And instead of doing that, you reallocate the funds while also getting something for Robertson. That to me would make more sense.
I mean, I've traded this guy to every team but Dallas. It makes so much sense for them. What if Dallas trades Robertson for a Noah Dobson? They need Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson would help everybody, but like need a right defenseman, do something like that, and then if you save money in the deal, I don't know Dobson's contract situation, then yeah, spend it on filling out the rest of the roster. And that, like, if you make the Robertson move a lateral move, just don't lose the Jason Robertson trade.
Yeah, don't get rid of Jason Robertson to become a worse team because your priorities are weird.
Right. To like get away from Jason Robertson's money would be a very, very stupid move. Sean, do you have a slate for this evening?
Kinda.
Ooh, Dick. Tuesday, June 10th.
Not
Nothing.
great. It'll be more of the same tomorrow. We got 2 days off to really chew on what the Oilers did. And Jackie, you seem to think that the extra day was a real positive.
It absolutely. That's not bias. That is 1,000% a positive for the Oilers. They have actual work to do off that game. Florida does not.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but it's also like I feel like if you lose a game like that and you're Edmonton, you want to get out there immediately.
No way. Oh, I disagree.
Really?
I disagree. I think that Florida is dying to get back out there. And I think Edmonton is much better served to have a glass of water. Like, cool the hell off. Sean?
Depends. Like, I don't know. Like, depends on who the Oilers are. I think for different people, you would rather get it out like a quarterback that throws an interception wants to get back on the field so he can kind of make it right and put it out of his head. Or like, yeah, you need the time to. I really don't know. It depends on who the Oilers are, and we'll find out in Game 4.
We will find out in game 4.
Must win.
Must win. Definitely applying the must win label. I'm going to apply the must subscribe label to everybody who is watching or listening. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you did not watch the stream last night, you might not be aware that because of some choice words Pete had about a certain columnist, we are getting our ratings tanked on Apple Podcasts. So go to Apple Podcasts, give 5 stars, and also go to Dan Le Batard Show's podcast, give 5 stars, and say, I'm a What Chaos listener, and I take their high road.
That's
we
right.
respect you.
Yeah, I was told that the streets may not rock with me because of my words on Greg Cody. And I think one of them was like, if you show your face in Miami-Dade County, you may regret it. And I was like, oh boy, the streets really rock with Greg Cody out there. So shout out to Greg Cody. We've since buried the hatchet a little bit. Super chat from Cup. Yeah, how obvious was that DJ Khaled knows absolutely nothing about hockey? That's fine. Hockey is for everyone, even if you don't know about it. Fergus Marner says, sorry I've been MIA, but the summer of Fergus is off to an amazing start. Hashtag Summer of Fergus, A+ show. That's the good stuff. Tag your comments on the Dan Le Batard Show reviews with hashtag Summer of Fergus. Jay Kranitz says, such disrespect, the Panthers are not the Kings. Correct, but the Golden Knights are not the Kings, and the Dallas Stars are not the Kings. And the Panthers are better than all those teams, but you get my point. It's not just something that Edmonton did against the Kings. And I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying they've done it against other teams. Stan says, Sean spells his name S-H-A-W-N. Our Sean does.
Yes.
But other guys named Sean spell it different ways.
Yeah, but there was somebody who was just like saying things about Sean in the chat and kept calling him S-E-A-N. And I think Stan did a super chat to really emphasize, hey, put some respect on our guy's name.
They were calling you
this way.
They were calling you out your name.
Well, they were calling me my name, just spelling it wrong.
They were calling you. They were chunking your name, is what they were doing, and it's not. You don't chunk a man's name. Okay, friends, we've got a fun day ahead of ourselves, and hopefully we'll have some cool stuff to show for it. Again, make sure you subscribe. Pete, tell them to do the A thing.
Amplify. That you can do that by subscribing. You can do that by liking, by commenting on any of our videos, whether it's this show after it airs, whether it is the clips that we put out on the YouTube channel. We are constantly active over there, so if you can be active over there as well, it helps us. We love you. We're also on social media. We're also, we got a Discord, link in the description below. Those sweatshirts are flying off the shelves. People are sending in pictures of them buying the What Mutt sweatshirt. It is unbelievable stuff. Just a reminder, if you are buying the What Mutt sweatshirt, it is oversized, so highly recommend going a size below what you usually wear, and it will fit you lovely, and you'll look great. So thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for amplifying. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.